Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the globalist eugenics death panel cult. The embrace of death and the systematic destruction of life. Now, let me introduce you to someone. Peter Singer calls himself a moral philosopher. He's a professor now, works at Princeton University, was the founder of Monash University's Human Bioethics Centre. Bioethics, wonderful term, isn't it? Human bioethics was Sydney Morning. It was the Humanist Society, and if you've seen some of my videos and a lot of Polly's videos, quite frankly, every time you see Humanist Society, that should bring up a red flag. Was the Council of Australian Humanist Society's Person of the Year in 2005, and the Sydney Morning Herald, which is a leftist rag like the Guardian, which you have in most countries, had him as one of Australia's most influential public intellectuals. So the left love this guy, right? And he's founder of Life You Can Save, which is a foundation which is dedicated to all the usual leftist globalist crap that we need to rape all the Western countries to get all the developing countries out of poverty, and the Western countries aren't doing enough and they're evil, and you know, the usual shit. But let me just show you, let's do a deep dive into this Peter Singer person, who happens to be Australian to my disgust, and let me just show you a few things. Okay, check out this headline. Peter Singer argues that it might be okay to rape disabled people. Yes, you heard it right. Let me repeat that again. Peter Singer argues it might be okay to rape disabled people. So, people like me, for instance, because we're not as valuable as a so-called normal able-bodied person. Let's go down into this article a bit, shall we? Alright, now, Peter Singer argues there is a moral justification of taking the life of disabled babies. He concludes that in severe cases, as for children with spina bifida, so I have a friend, Dave, with spina bifida. His mum died a couple of years ago. He walks around fine, he takes care of the house, he works, he's got a job, he's sharp as a whip. According to Peter Singer, it would have been fine for his mother to murder him, but let's go on, okay? Singer concluded that the decision as far as to whether or not to kill the infant should depend on whether it would make the parents happy and whether they intended to replace with another child, with another non-disabled child. So, and you notice that word, replace? So Peter Singer is trying to make it sound like a disabled person's life is not a life at all, and it's just like you're replacing a broken car part with another part. Apparently, we're just broken, we're just busted, and our lives aren't worth living. Apparently, according to this moral professor, apparently. Professor of morality. Can you believe this fucking joke? Moving on. When the death of a disabled infant will lead to the birth of another infant with better prospects and a happy life, the total amount of happiness will be greater if the disabled infant is killed. So, apparently someone like me, I guess I'll have to ask my mother about this question. She decided to keep me. Did she decide to keep me out of guilt or obligation, or the fact that I would make her happy? One wonders. When she sees this video, I guess I'll find out what the answer is. But apparently I have no prospects in life, and I have no prospects of making my parents happy, according to this person. Amazing, isn't it? And this person that runs a foundation who apparently cares about poverty and the lives of human beings, certain human beings anyway. Amazing, isn't it? It's another representation of the economic cost-benefit basis, like accounting the left want life to be. If you're not beneficial enough to the state in their idea of a society or a program, you'll be fed into a computer, and if you don't make the right score, you'll die. Same as the Chinese social score, except this one will decide whether you live or die. That's the sort of society people like Peter Singer want. People like Peter Singer and the globalist elites and the satanic cultists want. And here he says he wouldn't be willing to raise a child with Down syndrome because it would not make him happy. See the self-indulgent, self-entitled left? And when I used to go to TAFE early in the morning, when I used to have to travel from the country where I live right into the city, I used to have to get on the train at 5 o'clock in the morning. I met some Down syndrome people who were, to be quite frankly, the loveliest people I'd ever met, and whatever downs I was going through, they would make me happy, because the smallest things would make them happy, and they give you hugs, and they always have a smile on their face, and but according to Peter Singer, people with Down syndrome aren't beneficial enough for society, so they don't have a right to live. That's the sort of... How much more proof do you want? That's the sort of society these leftist cultists want. They want death panels, not just after you're born and when you're old, but in every aspect of life. They want to decide who's fit enough to live and who should die. It's the Chinese Maoist system on a grander, more technological, more advanced scale. It is frigging frightening. And he will say, according to him, he says most people think that a dog or a pig is less valuable than life than a normal human being. On what basis could they have held that that in their life personally, intellectually disabled human beings, intellectual capacities inferior than a dog or a pig. So basically what he's saying there is that the life of an intellectually disabled person is less valuable than a dog or a pig. In whose measure is it less valuable? His measure? That's the sickness, the satanic disrespect of life, that just the godlessness of these people. That, in his mind he thinks it's less valuable, so fine, we can strip that off, we can take that away. It's just it's hard to find words to describe this. Do you want to know a little bit more about Peter Singer? All right. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now, the transgender suicide rates among teens are increasing at a rapid rate, and this is the reason why they are pushing transgenderism in schools among young children, because it's another a depopulation program. Okay, because they get encouraged by schools and leftist cultist educators that it's cool. They get the drag queen storytime drag queens come in and say it's cool to be whatever sex you want. It's interchangeable and everything else. Then they grow up and they realize they're confused, they're angry. They realize who they are. They find out that they shouldn't have done what they've done, and they kill themselves. And it's all done on purpose. It's all done on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely sick. It's just, and at the moment, I can't find the article that I found last night. And the article I found last night basically stated that the suicide rates amongst people that have changed their sex that wasn't originally on their birth certificate from teens is 30% higher than any other group. It is absolutely alarming. Here it is. Emerging research reveals that transgender individuals whose gender identity does not align with the assigned birth certificate report suicide behaviours, i.e. plans for suicide, attempts or past attempts, a higher rate than their cisgender, whatever the fuck that means. I think that means normal gender peers. Those whose gender identity aligns with their sex assigned at birth. Data from 2015 United States Youth Risk Behaviour Survey reveals that 8.6% of adolescents report attempting suicide in the past year. 14.6 report having made a plan to attempt suicide. Comparatively, studies reveal that nearly 25 to 30% of transgender adolescents attempt suicide during their lifetime. Furthermore, findings from the 2008 National Transgender Discrimination Study reveals that 45% of 24-year-old transgender people had attempted suicide in their lifetime. Other studies revealed that 28 to 52% of transgender people have attempted suicide. So half of them, that's their goal. Yet they send these freaks into adolescence, into primary school, telling them that it's okay to change their gender, and 50,000 Australian psychologists have signed a petition saying that they want children to be able to have the right to change their gender. So, okay, you can't vote, you can't drink, you can't even consensually have sex. You can't until you're 16. You can't do any of those things, but you should be able to change your gender if you want. It is absolutely madness. It is institutionalized genocide. It's what it is. It's institutionalized genocide, and all these people that advocate these things, all the Department of Education teachers, all the psychologists, every one of these people need to be brought up on Nuremberg-style trials, and they need to be sentenced. This is an absolute disgrace. That's all I need to say about that. And long video, but one more thing.